Hey guys, it is tea time, so go grab yourself a cup of your favorite tea. I have some kind of anonymous tea here that I just took from one of my jars that don't have a label. I'm pretty sure it's some kind of black tea with berries. And look how cool my strainer is. It's a little dude that's chilling in the mug. Anyways, it is tea time, and I am going to do something new today. I would really like to make a series of tea time videos where I just sit down and talk to you guys about one certain topic at a time. So a while back I asked you on Instagram to send me suggestions for topics that you would like me to talk about, and one of the topics that was requested a lot is something that I have been wanting to talk about for a while, but I've also been kind of hesitant to talk about this because it is extremely personal and I feel like it's become a little bit of a controversial subject, and many people have strong opinions about it, but then again I feel like it is good to talk about this and kind of show how people experience this differently. I am talking about anxiety. I don't think I have ever talked about anxiety in a video before or told you more about kind of how it manifests for me. I have talked about this a little bit on my blog. I always find it easier to talk about super personal stuff on my blog. So some of you may know a little bit about my anxiety and what it kind of encompasses, but today I just wanted to tell you a little bit more about that. I'm not exactly sure where to start or kind of where to go with this because there is so much that I could say about anxiety and kind of my anxiety in particular. So I think I'm just gonna kind of stick to the basics for now so that this video doesn't end up being 2 hours long. Yeah, I would also like to answer some of your questions because you guys sent me some specific questions about anxiety as well. So I'd like to kind of go through a couple of those. But I guess to begin, let's start by telling you about my experience with anxiety and the specific kind of type of anxiety I experience. Okay, so Wikipedia says, anxiety is an emotion characterized by an unpleasant state of inner turmoil, often accompanied by nervous behavior, such as pacing back and forth, somatic complaints, rumination. It is the subjectively unpleasant feeling of dread over anticipated events, such as the feeling of imminent death. Anxiety is not the same as fear, which is a response to a real or perceived immediate threat, whereas anxiety is the expectation of future threat. Alright, so that is the emotion of anxiety, and then when you experience this emotion a lot, way more than what would be considered normal, then you may be experiencing anxiety disorder. Now, let me begin by telling you straight away, I have not been diagnosed with anxiety disorder. That is quite a conscious decision of mine. I will talk about that later, about my kind of history with treatment for this, but let's just begin by kind of telling you more of what I experienced. So my biggest problem, or my kind of biggest anxiety thing, is death. And it is not my death, but the death of my loved ones. I pretty much live, oh, it sounds so dramatic, but it is true. When I have anxiety, it usually comes for me in periods, so I will have it for a couple of weeks or months, and then I won't have it at all, and then it'll come back and I will just have it again for a couple of months. During that time when I'm experiencing anxiety, I will live in constant fear of death of my loved ones. And usually how this happens, well, that is one form of anxiety I get. I also get what I like to call situational anxiety, where it is kind of a fear response that kind of spirals out of control, spirals into anxiety and then a panic attack. But that is kind of separate from this constant fear of death that I tend to experience. So let me just kind of illustrate how this happens or what kind of goes on in my mind when I get this anxiety attack about death of a loved one. So it often happens on completely random moments. It doesn't have to be triggered by anything. It usually happens in the evening when I'm tired. I'll just be going about my day, and then I will see something in my room, or maybe not even that, but something will remind me of someone I love. Usually this is worse when I'm reminded of people I love that I am kind of expecting to pass away soon. So my grandparents or my rats, who have a lifespan of 2 years. Sorry, there's like really big cars driving by. Anyway, so my grandparents or my rats are the most kind of risk loved ones. Something will remind me of them, and then it always starts with kind of a nice memory, and then something goes wrong inside my brain. It is really weird for me to talk about this, by the way. My brain goes into this state where it shows me images and emotions that are completely involuntary, and I will often fight it, like it's my brain fighting against itself or something. But my brain is like, oh yeah, I know you love this person. Let's experience in great detail how it would feel like if that person dies. So then I kind of get this, like my heart, it feels like someone's clenching my heart, and it will start pounding really fast. And that is when kind of the physical symptoms start to spread. And as I'm kind of experiencing this person's death in my head, while trying to fight it at the same time, my brain will be like, yeah, that would suck, right? If that person would die. Well, guess what? They are going to die. Everybody's going to die, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that is usually when stuff gets worse. And if I get to this point, then I know I'm going to have a full-blown panic attack. And that is kind of, I can't stop it. That is the worst thing. This just goes on, and I experience this deep, deep terror of this very kind of realistic feeling of what would happen if all of these people died. Then, of course, followed by a terrible fear of that happening, because I don't want that to happen. So that is kind of what my anxiety attacks are like. My physical symptoms are, beside the heart kind of rate going up, I get very restless. I will start pacing up and down. Don't know what to do with my body. I will feel like just going outside and running, or not moving at all and kind of crawling up and hiding. Something that's a little bit TMI maybe, but I will start to sweat very heavily. I will need to go to the bathroom repeatedly and quite intensely, obviously. Sometimes when it's really, really bad, I have thrown up in the past, but that is something I try to repress because I hate throwing up. But so yeah, those are the physical symptoms I get. But that's only if I spiral way out of control into a full-blown panic attack. Usually I'm able to stop it way earlier, but this is usually kind of how it goes with me. And I know that this happens when I am tired or stressed. Staying up too late is pretty much a guarantee for me for this to happen. Working too much, not spending enough time just relaxing. And sometimes I don't know at all why it's happening right now. I have no idea. But then I also have the, like I said, what I call situational anxiety, when I get anxious over having to do something. This is usually more of the anxiety to social kind. For example, I may have a panic attack when I'm asked to interact with people, with strangers, unexpectedly. Yeah, that is usually it. So I remember having a panic attack once in a really, really strange situation when I was in a restaurant in Spain with my parents, and I had run out of my fizzy drink and I wanted a refill, and my mom was like, well, go order it then. And I don't know why, but I was kind of expecting her to go order it for me, and I was really nervous because we were in Spain. I'm not really good at Spanish. I wasn't sure if the waitress or whoever person was going to be able to speak English. I wasn't expecting to have to interact with someone. And as normal a thing as ordering a soda is, that just kind of triggered panic attack for me, and I was just crying right there in the Spanish restaurant. And so that is kind of a situation where I get anxiety as well. For me, it is usually the situational anxiety is about sudden change. Sudden unexpected change is something I don't handle very well. So if I'm expecting to do something and then suddenly someone else changes the plans, I can't handle that. That will sometimes trigger an anxiety attack for me. Just to be clear, I don't always have a panic attack when I'm having anxiety. Usually I have it under control. The panic just happens more often with the death thing. That usually goes into panic, but not always. I find it really hard to explain what this is like for me. I'm pretty sure I come across as completely crazy right now, but this this is what I experience sometimes. Like I mentioned, it comes in waves. Sometimes I experience this a lot. And when I'm having the kind of death anxiety on a more regular basis, that's when I also get more of the situational anxiety. Yeah, that's when I get really scared of pretty much any situation where I'm not in control. Those two usually go hand in hand. Okay, so that is kind of how I experience anxiety. So I've been talking for a really long time now, so I'm just going to grab a couple of your questions that you had for me specifically. By the way, please, if anyone recognizes this, because this is kind of like therapeutic for me as well. I would love if anybody is like, oh my gosh, I have this as well, and you don't feel crazy anymore, but at this point I feel crazy. So please tell me I'm not alone. Oh, something important. This fear of my loved ones dying, I have had this always, since I was a small child. I literally do not remember a time when I didn't have this. And my parents actually remembered this as well, that I would come up to their room in the middle of the night just crying because I was so afraid that my grandparents were going to die. Just out of nowhere. Without, like, they never understood where it was coming from. I would just randomly one night just come up and be like, oh, I don't want grandma and grandpa to die. I've always had this. So yeah, many people are asking about how to handle a specific type of anxiety that I don't have. So I'm afraid I don't know how to deal with any other anxiety than this specific thing that I'm experiencing. Many people have asked how I deal with it. Well, I have become very kind of in touch with my body, and I can feel the symptoms coming up. So when I feel kind of my initial trigger, I know to distract myself right away and kind of remove myself from the situation, completely doing something else, watching a YouTube video that's completely unrelated, like a makeup review or something like that, something that is just completely going to take my mind off of it. What sometimes also helps for me is when I notice these thoughts are coming up, to tell myself, no, we are not doing this right now. I do not feel like doing this right now. Come on, just no. And actually, sometimes that helps. It only helps in the early stages, but this is kind of what I've trained myself to do. When I tell myself, no, we are not having an anxiety attack right now, that really helps. Sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. This really helps when I'm having a small anxiety attack in a period where I'm not generally anxious. So when I'm having anxiety more often, this usually doesn't really help, or doesn't help as well. But if I'm honest, often when I have an anxiety attack, I just wait it out. There's not much I can do. If none of this works, removing myself from the situation, or telling myself to stop having an anxiety attack, if that doesn't help, then I just go through it and I wait it out. It always ends. It always blows over. It is horrible. It's a horrible thing to experience, but it always passes. So yeah, I just wait it out. It's probably not the advice you wanted, but I'm afraid that's what I do. Oh, about the social, how do you deal with social anxiety? I'm not sure I have social anxiety. I think I'm just very introverted, because usually when I'm kind of prepared, then social situations don't give me anxiety or panic attacks at all, and I'm able to deal with them. I just need some time to prepare and kind of know that I'm going to have to interact with strangers. If I know that, then I'm completely fine, and I function. I function really well. So, but if I have to do something that I'm really scared of, someone else commented this too, by the way, I do that as well. I pretend I'm someone else. This really helps. Sometimes when I have to do something scary that has to do with my job, then I can just say to myself, okay, I am Loepsie now. Lucy, staying at home, this is Loepsie. Loepsie is a beauty blogger. Loepsie is expected to do this and this and that, so Loepsie is going to do that. And then I play Loepsie when I'm out and about, and it sounds so weird, but that really helps. I kind of distance my personal self from the situation and from what people are expecting Loepsie to be, and that just really helps for me. And I do that when I have to make phone calls as well. I am not me, I'm not little Lucy here. I am a customer that needs to do something. That really helps me, and that's pretty much the only thing I know that helps. It's always scary, but this helps a little bit. The sun is going down like crazy. We're getting dark here, guys. Okay, so someone asks about advice for having anxiety in a relationship with a significant other. So this is something that may be worth mentioning, because Actually, my relationship with Robert is one of the biggest cures and preventers of my anxiety. I notice that when we are together a lot, I don't go into these kind of longer periods with lots of anxiety attacks. He really helps to ground me and kind of prevent those thoughts from happening. And when they do happen, then it really helps for me to speak them out loud, because for some reason hearing it out loud makes my brain realize how ridiculous it is what I'm thinking. And Robert also really helps to kind of bring me back to earth and make me realize that it is kind of ridiculous, and that, yeah, everybody dies, but no one's dying right now, and we'll deal with it when it happens. He doesn't really, I don't think he really understands what I'm going through, because he doesn't experience this at all, but it really helps for me to explain to him what I'm going through in very, very much detail. It helps him understand what's going on, and it helps me kind of articulate it and then rethink what it is that I'm actually anxious over. I'd say communication is key in this, as in all things that have to do with relationships. Just really talk to your partner and let them know what is going on and what you expect from them in a situation like that, and yeah, what you're feeling. I think that's important for both parties. So quite a few people asked about future-related anxiety. I don't have that at all, I'm afraid, sorry. So I can't really say much about that. I'm not anxious about what the future will bring. Okay, so someone asks something I've already touched about, if I've ever sought professional help, and my experience with that. Well, yes. When I was about 16 years old, I went to a psychologist because I was having panic attacks again. I didn't really know that anxiety existed back then. So yeah, I went to a psychologist, and I didn't like the experience at all. I went to her, once in 2 weeks, and I would talk about like my panic attacks and why I had them and just what they feel like. And then she would give me exercises, like physical exercises to do when I experienced the panic attack. And she would just kind of talk to me. But my problem is I don't experience anxiety all the time. And when I'm not having it, well, especially back then, I was terrified of it. It was way more intense. I had no idea how to deal with it. Now I kind of know how to control it, but back then I didn't know at all. So it would always spiral out of control, like really badly. So I didn't really want to talk about it, because talking about it kind of triggered it as well. And I did not want to have periodic panic attacks every other week just by having to talk about her. So just by having to talk about it with her. So I would really dread these visits to her. I didn't find them pleasant. I didn't really feel like they helped. The physical exercise helped to kind of calm a panic attack, but just talking to her didn't really. She never gave me a diagnosis, so I haven't actually been diagnosed with anxiety. And then actually, as one of my anxiety periods kind of disappeared, or I'm pretty sure when I was going to her, I had a period where I wasn't having anxiety at all. So at a certain point she was like, yeah, I think you're way too happy to be here actually. And I was like, yeah, I feel good. So I stopped going, and she kind of never really, either she didn't figure it out, or she didn't feel like it needed something, like something needed to happen about it. That was an underlying cause that I've had all my life and that was going to be there for the rest of my life. So she just kind of sent me off with nothing. And that was my experience with kind of mental health care. And I have to say it was pretty disappointing. And so that is part of the reason why I haven't sought help again. Another part of the reason is because I feel like I function well in society. I think people that don't know, people that I don't tell that I have anxiety won't know that I have it. There is nothing that I'm not able to do because of anxiety that I would want to do, but I just can't because I have anxiety. It doesn't stop me from living the life I want to live. I'm able to function with it. That is why maybe going to a mental health practitioner is a little bit too big of a step for me. I just don't feel like it's necessary. And I'm a little bit stubborn and I want to do everything myself. That is just kind of how I am. And I feel like if I go through this myself, then I will feel better about it in the end. Like, I've done this myself, and in the end, I am the person that's going to live with this mind, this crazy, death-fearing mind for the rest of my life. So, yeah. I kind of feel like, as long as I feel like I'm handling it, it is better if I do it myself. If I ever spiral out of control, I will definitely go back and seek help. I'm not against it, but I feel like right at this moment I don't really need it, and I'd rather not be in that system and have a label put on me and stuff like that. So I'm not even 100% sure if I actually have anxiety or anxiety disorder or whatever you would like to call it, and I don't really care what people, or what it's called officially. When I say anxiety, people understand something that is remotely like what I am experiencing, and that's good enough for me. I don't care about the label, it's not going to make me feel better. So yeah, that is kind of my stance on that, seeking help. For me personally, that is. Oh, so yeah, next question is related to this, asking whether I take anything for it. No, I don't use any medicine, never have. All I've ever gotten to kind of deal with this is the physical exercise, which just involves kind of like flexing my muscles in a certain order and then just kind of taking the focus away from my brain and into my body. It really helps, but it was just very lengthy and I didn't really feel like doing it every time. Oh, so someone asks how often I get these anxiety attacks. So like I mentioned, I go through phases where I either have them a lot or I don't have them pretty much at all. When I have them a lot, I will sometimes have them every single day, maybe multiple times a day. That's when it's really bad. If it's kind of, well, I'm having that phase, but it's not extreme, then I will usually have it every evening, or like every other evening, or like maybe 3 times a week. If I'm not having it, then maybe once a month I will experience a little one that doesn't go into a full panic attack, and I'm able to stop it at an early stage, kind of recognize and be like, nope, and then that works. So yeah, regularly still, always. So yeah, I think I'm going to stop here because my plan for keeping this video a little bit short has failed miserably. But yeah, I don't even really know where I'm going with this video. I guess I just wanted to talk about this. Hopefully kind of make some of you realize that it is okay to have something strange up with your emotional states. That you can be a fully functioning human with anxiety or something that resembles anxiety. I would love to read your comments about this topic. We can have a discussion. I would love to answer more questions in the comments about this topic, any specific questions that you may have, talk more about this. So yeah, do let me know your thoughts, and I think I'm just going to end the video here. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you like kind of the concept of tea time topics. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye!